Hey guys, so this is an interesting space here. It's not a talk, it's not more of a workshop, also, it's not workshop. What we are doing here is we are actually, we invited a couple of experts to give us suggestions on, you know, um, what can we do with different roles in the Agile organization? In the Agile, as much as every role is a complementary role, it is also a very conflicting situation with all the Agile bodies so far seen. So my request to all these leaders was, can you come and share some insights on the roles you have played? And when I talk about that, I have with me uh, Mr. Ram from Publicis Sapient, who has been a very senior director for the product management, product delivery, discovery, and of course, I leave the core introduction to them because I can totally go wrong there. I requested Ram to share insights on POPM role, so that we know what to do as POPMs. Then we have Frank Verboughh. Frank is a Scrum Inc. Scrum Fellow, and he has helped many teams, to enable agility and independence in working. And he's great coach to help Scrum Masters know what is their path. Then we have Abby. Abby is CEO founder to Agile Advisor Africa, and she has a pool of 100 plus researchers and consultant for Agile, and so collectively, a lot of information on project management that I have requested Abby to provide. We struggle as project managers, when the organization has this happening. Then we have Sharmila Patwardhan with us with the Deutsche Bank and leading a very massive agile transformation on the Deutsche Bank side. And so I asked her, what does she think people managers should do? Delivery managers, people managers, what is their role, in an agile organization, in an agile team? How can they enable agility? And then we have with us Sunil Mundra, a very respected agile coach, from McKinsey and Company, and also, who had been instrumental to various conferences and communities. His books are famous. So I'm so honored to have, all of you experts. I will request you all to introduce yourself and probably a pitch. Why should someone go to your room? And so audience, please know that after this, we will be going to separate Zoom rooms. Frank will stay here. So everyone who is interested in knowing about Scrum Mastership will stay here. And other than that, there will be 4 different Zoom rooms. We will all move along with these experts. And so without wasting time, I will request these experts to introduce. I will request one of you at a time. So I'll start with Ram. Ram, can you introduce and can you share, what should we reach out to you for in your room?
Thanks, Deepthi. One honor to be here today. I think this year and a half now with COVID, the learning agility, as we call it, has accelerated for all of us, right? So we are at all the time learning, sharing, and in this context, honored to be here, Deepthi. So thanks for the invitation. So my role is the typical role as a product lead at Publicis Sapient. So one, I manage a large product management team for Publicis Sapient, and I also play the role of a product lead for one of our internal products, which we have deployed across customers. And I have been in the product management space for quite a long time. So I started my career with Nestle, which is where I was in actual supply chain marketing operations. And then after MBA, moved into consulting and product space. So why someone should come into my session? I think there is a lot of literature out there on how should a product be scaled, especially if it's a startup, especially if it's like company being funded by VCs and all of that. Where my expertise lies is in helping large enterprises manage their products, scale their products. How do you kind of bring in a culture of product thinking in a established Fortune 500 organization, right? So whether it's a company like Marriott or a McDonald's or a company like Unilever, I would be sharing those experiences in my session as to what is the role of product manager and a product owner in these sessions, how do how does like backlog grooming differ completely? How does prioritization work? Right, because these are companies which also have like established hierarchy, right? So that's the pitch, Deepti, and do join in my session, and hope to see you there.
Thank you, Ram. So now I request Frank to share, about himself and why should somebody join him.
Thank you, Deepti. Very honored to be here. I've played many different roles in many different organizations. I've been a developer, I've been a scrum master, I've been a manager. And as of recent, I've gone down the hierarchy again because I just like it more. It's way more concrete. I deliver way more results, and I've been thinking very, very long and hard about how does agility, how does Scrum help us actually achieve better and more results? To that end, I've also been developing a way of teaching people how to do Scrum without ever using the word Scrum or using any of the words of Scrum. And only when they finally are doing it, I'm telling them, oh yeah, that's really fun, and it has actually been delivering great results. So I'm very interested in going into that type of teaching Scrum to people, as well as me being very interested in making very concrete how to measure the impact of the results that we're achieving. Because Scrum and any kind of work methodology in the end should be driven by the results. And you can actually measure the results while you're going, and that actually drives you forward. And it's a great way of experiencing how nice everything can work. So if you're interested in that, please stick around.
Thanks, Frank. So now I'll request Sharmila to please share what, about herself and, what she thinks managers should, follow her. Yeah.
Hi, can you hear me clearly? Okay, great. So thank you, Dipti. First of all, I think I'm glad to co-host this along with Ram and Frank. A lot of wisdom there as well. With me, the role is like a people manager, and in my opinion, this is a most difficult area where there is some guidelines very clearly in Scrum org about how teams should work, how the leadership should work, but there are no specific guidelines for people managers. And in my opinion, they do struggle with a little bit of pragmatic way of how to be agile. And that is something that I would definitely like to share, something that I pragmatically teach them to do, and coach them to do as well. So that's what I would rather be interested in hearing from them. What are the challenges, and if I may advise or if I may kind of help them to get to some of the tips that they could work on. So that's where I can seek their help, and they can seek my help too.
Thank you. And so then I request Sunil to share about himself and, why should somebody go to understand about Agile coaches? What do they need to do to him? Yeah.
Thank you, Dipti. It's a privilege for me to be a part of this event. Heartfelt thanks for inviting me. So my name is Sunil Mundra. I'm Principal Consultant Advisory at ThoughtWorks. We are well known for our agile ways of working, agile ways of delivery, and also consulting in that space. I have a total of 31 years of experience, of which 20 years is in the IT industry. Completed 10 years in ThoughtWorks, and prior to that, 10 years, you can say, as a role of a product owner, which wasn't what it was called then. But looking back, I knew that that's the role that I was playing, and also being a business analyst. And I'm the author of the best-selling book, Enterprise Agility, Being Agile in a Changing World, and have spoken at about 30 plus conferences, and this is physical, not virtual, across the 6 continents. A correction, Deepti, I am from ThoughtWorks.
Yes, I know. I'm sorry.
So yeah, just thought I should just clarify that.
Yes.
All right. Coming to the Agile coach role, it's a new role. So it's not considered one of those core roles within a delivery team, right? What are the core roles in a delivery team? UX, UI, project manager, business analyst, developer, etc., right? Even a Scrum Master is probably now considered part of a core delivery team. So what does an Agile coach do, right? So there's a lot of nebulousness around this role. There's a lot of hesitation and reluctance in organizations to invest in this role. And how do you measure the success of this role? Also, there is no consensus around that as well. So what I'm going to talk about, or what I can share from my experience, and again, when you talk of Agile Coach, there are two levels, right? One is at the leadership level, and the other one is at the team level. I can talk about both, but probably the interest is more at what does an Agile Coach do at a team level. And I would like to share what has my experience been in terms of the responsibilities of this role at a team level, and also how can this role become effective as well in terms of contributing. So that's what I would plan to share.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So now I request Abby to share what does she think, project owners should do, project managers actually, and project coordinators should do. When Agile actually outright says that, it's a Scrum Masters and product owners. What does she think, and why should people join her? Oh, you are on mute, Abby.
Sorry about that. Happens all the time. Thank you, Dipti. Thank you, everyone. Yes, so many years ago, I used to be a project manager and also a program manager for very large projects at one of the top banks in Canada. And I was very happy to be a project manager. I struggled in that role many times on many projects. And basically, I transitioned into being a Scrum Master, being a project manager, and then I became an Agile coach. And so I found myself working with HR, trying to hire, trying to find the relevance of project managers even within an Agile project. And so I was one of those people who really understood the fact that, it all depends on the person. Some people can actually evolve, from being a project manager and being an Agile project manager and supporting an Agile project. And some people, they still have that invisible whip with them. And, they're going to it very, very hard because it's a people like skills, characteristics, and all kinds of things. So over the years, I developed a framework that actually enables a project manager, Agile project manager, to work effectively within an Agile space and also become strong project managers on their own. And so I call it the bullseye approach, whereby if you can just imagine the bullseye right now, the three circles. So the smaller circle is the core team, and the outer circle is the extended team, and then the larger one. So the small team, I call it family. And, just as a family is, they live together, depend on each other. And then the outer circle, the immediate outer circle, I call them friends. They visit from time to time and, come to support the family. And then the outer layer, I call those allies. And so the project manager would always be found in the friend zone, whereby they would always support and also in that middle zone, they would support the core team and also support the allies. The allies is where you find the stakeholders, the executives,
Abby,
and those
I think
people.
you might want to share that in the room, not because we are all now moving to our rooms. Yeah, so we have to save time.
That's what I'm going to be sharing. Yeah. That's what I'm going to be talking about.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
So now, guys, thank you so much. First of all, thanks so much, the experts for taking out time. And now without wasting anyone's time and saving time so that we all can have these focused discussions on different roles in the separate rooms, I have posted a Google Sheet. All of you, I request you to open here. This Google Sheet will provide you Zoom links, different Zoom links, through which you can go navigate to different roles rooms and talk to your experts. Frank, you will stay with Vikram here, and all of us, Sunil, Abby, Ram, and Sharmila, we all go to different Zoom rooms. So I'm jumping out because I have to host Ram's room. And the Google Sheet is in chat. All of you, please take the Google Sheet from chat. Yeah.
All right, got it.
Bye. Yeah, bye. I'm jumping out.
Thank you, Dipti.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Frank.
Hi.
Vikram this side. I will be facilitating this session.
Great.
Right. So, I will be taking out the time box and will run the bell on 45 and 55 minutes. And the last 5 minutes will be the Q&A part. So without wasting,
Yeah, no, sure. Great.
Sure. And without wasting much more time, I think we can start in next 30 seconds. Over to you.
That's fine. There's 3, 18, 19 people still here.
It's 21 at the moment right now, which I can
Oh,
see here. It's 20, right? Okay.
yeah, it's just, we were just with 26 people. If there's 18 people sticking around, that seems to me to be a lot. I do not wish to disturb people who are not here for the Scrum Master thoughts.
Right. Yeah. So let's just wait for another like 10, 15 seconds, and then I can pass it on the podium to you, right? So you can take it up.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
And Vika, Vikram, I say, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we? Is it best if I do a big talk, or do we do more interactivity? What is the preferred way?
It's totally dependent upon you how you want to make interactive or your call, sir. Right.
Yeah, no, I would like it to be interactive. I would like everybody to know that if you have a question, feel free to ask me. In the meantime, we'll see where the talk goes. I can introduce what I've been doing, and if nobody has any questions, I can easily talk for an hour. But I like the interactivity more than anything else. So
yeah,
I'm going to assume that everybody that's still here. Yeah.
So we have odd 50, 40 odd minutes. So you can take it up the questions side by side, and we request all the participants to push their questions on the chat window. And Frank, you can take it up. Those.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay. All right. Again, very warm welcome. So we have 19 participants left in this chat. I think we can start right now. Over to you, Frank. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Okay, so welcome all of you. And as I was discussing, please feel free to post your questions in chat. Also, while I'm talking, I would like it to be a reasonably interactive session, so that you can actually dive deep into questions that interest you most. But I would also like to start with a little bit of an introduction on the topics that I've been thinking about. So. As for my personal journey, I've been a developer, a Scrum Master. I've been a manager. I've done all sorts of different roles, and as of recent, I have been deciding that I wanted to go a little bit down the hierarchy to get more concrete and actually deliver better results. For me, this has been a very, very happy and nice experience because in my role as a Scrum Master, I frequently found that it is very difficult to get people to understand these valuable things that you can achieve whilst doing good Scrum from an organization and doing good agility in an organization, because the words are just not as powerful as the results. So with my new team, I'm actually achieving a lot of results together with them as a part of the team, instead of being pushed out of the team as a separate role. I'm now more merged into the team. I also take responsibility for delivering the backlog, and that is actually a direction that the Scrum Guide 2020 also tries to push us in, where it says that it is now a responsibility instead of a separate role. There was also a mention by Jeff in his introduction of the new Scrum Guide of the idea that a Scrum team that consists of just 2 people doesn't necessarily not have a product owner or a Scrum Master. It can just be that one of them is responsible for the Scrum Master responsibilities, and the other one can be responsible for the product owner responsibilities. So I've taken that to heart very, very strongly. And I went into the team as a developer and also as a Scrum Master. What I've been doing with this team is I've been trying to teach them how to do Scrum without actually teaching them the words that Scrum uses. I just want them to achieve the results, and it has seemed to me that it lands much better and much stronger with the team, because they experience what it is to do the Scrum the right way, instead of that they are trying to find the right words or do the right ceremonies. I have noticed in the past that many a Scrum Master uses the words and the ceremonies, but doesn't necessarily use them in the correct way, or doesn't know how to measure their own results or the achievements that the team make. So what I've been doing with the team is, first of all, when I entered the team, I noticed that there was a fairly big discrepancy between what is the right way to do things and how they were actually doing things. They were very much in a waterfall kind of setting. And I don't think that the Scrum Mastery that was in the team was high enough to actually achieve any results. Instead, what they would do was they would do meetings, but the meetings would never actually add any values. For instance, we would have a daily stand-up. The daily stand-up would last about 30 minutes. And after the daily stand-up, I had no idea if we were going to achieve anything or not. I had no idea if we were progressing. Nobody was held accountable for anything. People just said what they were doing, and they did not hold each other accountable. There was no standard for what was the right way to do things, and it was just no fun. We were just all sitting there. So what did we do? Well, I decided that we would scratch all meetings, we would scratch everything, and we would build it up from the bottom. And one of the first things that happened was that the teammates were starting to say, well, if we have nothing, I will need something. And I said, well, okay, what do you need? And then we decided, well, we need a common goal. And so we wrote down a common goal. And the common goal was we would like to be so productive that everybody else in the organization is amazed at how we do things. And then I said, okay, and how are we going to achieve this goal? We figured out that the right way to achieve this goal was probably we want to automate the hell out of all the repetitive tasks that we have. And thusly, we want to increase the speed every step of the way. And then they were like, oh, okay, that's very good. And then we decided, okay, but we also need to be delivering while we're doing that. Yes, we all agreed. We need to be delivering while we're doing that. So there we moved forward. Okay, if we're going to be delivering, when are we going to be delivering? Oh, that's a tough question. Well, you know what? I think it's going to be in a week, but we don't know. And then we decided, okay, maybe we should be in a conference call all together every day, twice a day, once when the day starts and once when the afternoon starts. And we ask each other about progress towards the goal. And well, you know, whoever is working on the thing will be talking about the progress. But if you're not working on a specific thing, we don't care. Also, we decided we don't care if you worked very hard. We all believe nonstop and all the time that you worked very hard. We care about the results. So with this new orientation towards results, what started happening was that we got a sort of a day start that we do too, because it turns out that most of our stories are implemented in about 2 days completely with all the tasks that are in it. So we decided, well, twice a day is probably a good speed to do it with. And then we got to the conclusion, well, but we also have all these meetings that are disturbing us all day long. And the organization is wanting us to do all these meetings. And then we said, well, you know what? We'll just not go to them unless somebody has a particularly compelling argument for us to go to them. And if there is a thing where the team needs to be represented, we send one representative towards it who can then represent the team the best. In 70% of cases, that's me, that's a Scrum Master. That is because I also have the most political affinity within the team. And in the remaining 30%, it's usually the expert on that particular topic, which is frequently not me. And that is actually working out very well for us, because what you get is you get a situation where everybody gets into optimal flow because they're working on the same topic for a non-stop period of 3 to 4 hours. Then we decided, well, we want to do 2 bursts every day because we noticed that working for a non-stop period and just keeping working at it for 8 hours, it wasn't really working for us. We were like doing very high intensity mental activities. And we noticed that after about 3 hours, we get very tired. And so we decided we'll start the day, we'll get focused on what we want to achieve. Then we're going to go into focus. We're going to work for a block of 2 or 3 hours as a burst. And after the burst, we take a 1 to 1.5 hour break. After the 1 to 1.5 hour break, we take our second burst of about 3 hours. And then we're done with the day. And actually that increased our productivity by a ton as well. So now the question then comes is like, when we've made these major steps in how are we going to increase this productivity, we come to the question, so how do we know if we're doing actually any good? So we start thinking about what are the right metrics to measure ourselves against. And since I've been working in metrics for a while as well, I come to the conclusion that it is probably very smart to look at, are we progressing at a speed where we're delivering fast enough? So we're going to be thinking about delivery, and we're going to be looking at delivery speed and delivery quality. We want to both deliver at a much higher quality level, much more consistent quality level, and we want to focus on getting much, much, much faster than we were before. Well, it looks like we got from several weeks down to, let's say, about 2 or 3 days per story to be deployed into production. So that was a great effect. And the quality was actually upped because we're now automating all of the things that were previously not automated. So lots of the tests that we actually do, they were done by hand. And what would actually happen was that when these quality gates were hindering the delivery because of there was a bug in production, was the most prototypical example, then the quality test would actually not be executed. So instead, we are hammering on our teammates that we really want to have the high quality automated into our delivery process. Now, most of this is very common for, I'm hoping, everybody in this room, and there's not a lot of very, very tough topics in here that isn't much described, or that people can actually not tell you as well, or that books cannot tell you. But it is my personal experience right now that if you want to actually get a very high performing team, the way forward is not to have a role specified and you joining in high and mighty about the role, or that you tell people this is this meeting. Instead, what you can do is you can let people experience this is how nice it can be to do this well. And when they experience how nice it is to do this well, you can then tell them, hey, you know what? This is what we call a day start. Or, hey, you know what? This is what we call a refinement. Hey, you know what? This is what we actually call story points if you get to that point as well. And it looks to me as though mentally it aligns much better with people, because instead of them having to learn a mental model and then trying to figure out how to fix that onto their reality, what you do is you work with them to change the reality, and then you give them a mental model that fits that very well. And so far, that has been very successful. That was the story that I was wanting to tell. And I'm hoping anybody has any questions along the way. I haven't seen any in chat so far.
Not yet, but Anuj Chen has raised his hand. I'm sure he must have a question. Anuj, would you mind unmute yourself and ask the question? Go ahead, please.
Sorry, Vikram, that was a mistake.
No worries. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions from the audience, please? So I have one question here, right? So how did you measure this part, right? The entire journey, right? What you did it, right? In terms of any matrix, any kind of template, right? Because obviously you are in that journey where you are actually doing some progress, keep on going on. And definitely
Yes.
if you're moving up and down, right? You have something where you can fine tune that thing, right? Kind of a thing. I want to hear your experience in that thing.
Right. So the thing that we're most adamant about is delivery speed. We hammer down the outcome. So we want to see outcome out of our team. That is to say, you can say, oh, I've written this much, this much code, or I've written this much test. But in the end, the thing that is most important is that what you do with your team has value in the real world, right? So
Right.
we are focusing on the outcome, and the outcome to us is defined as a working service in production. And you can define your outcome any way you like, as long as when the outcome is there, you should probably be done. All of the work should be done. So with us, the work should be done has been getting additional and larger meaning over time. So first, the work should be done meant we did all the programming, and then we decided, oh wait, we also need to do automated publishing of our service contract to the people that actually are going to use our services. And then we decided, oh wait, well, if we're doing that, we better know that if we deliver a contract, that the contract is actually of very high quality, and that what we're delivering is most likely going to be good. Oh, okay. So how likely is it that it's going to be good? Well, you can express that in many different ways. We are choosing to count the number of bugs that we find in the continuous delivery pipeline, but we're also choosing to count the number of bugs that we get in production. And we choose to measure the amount of time it takes to fix a bug whenever we do find it. We also measure the amount of tests that we have for the code that we've written. We want to measure the amount of interruptions that we get because we want to minimize the amount of interruptions. As I said, we want to work in bursts. So every time one of our team members is interrupted from working in a burst, they actually have to get out of the burst and then get back into their burst so that they can start working again. And going out and in actually causes them to be disturbed. They have to go like, oh, where was I again? And before you get back into that flow, there's a little time lost there. So we want to minimize that. I think those are the most important ones. We're going to focus in the not so distant future on the amount of money that is made, but that is currently not yet transparent to our team. But we're hammering down that as well, because the amount of money has to do with the effectivity of what we have done, right? You can make so many things, but they're only useful if the things that you've made are actually used and desired, and that people want them and want to pay for them. So all of those are things that we are interested in measuring as well. I think that's the most important part of the set of metrics that we're focusing on right now. I do see that.
Yep.
I don't know how to pronounce this correctly, but Shubha.
Yep.
Has asked.
It's Shubha Ramakrishnan, right? Shubha, yeah. If you don't mind, can you just unmute yourself and ask the question?
Yeah. Hi. The question was, with so many roles that you've played in, which role do you think it has added more weightage till now, and how do you think it has helped you align with it?
Right. So if I interpret your question correctly, and let me check this. So the question that you're asking me is, in which role have I had the biggest effect on the organization or on the team? Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. So that's actually a very good role, and it's actually the driver behind me choosing to step down from a managing position towards a developer / Scrum Master position. So I like it a lot. So as a manager and as a Scrum Master, as a role in an organization where I've been playing this role, I noticed that a big part of what I was doing was trying to convince people that the way that they were doing things, which was very waterfall-like, was very much not what was the intended purpose of doing Scrum, and B, it wasn't working. And it turns out that because for one organization, they hired me because I have a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge about how Scrum and Agile are supposed to be functioning, and I can teach this to people. So I was hired as a sort of a teacher, and I was trying to identify, this is what you're doing, this is why it is or isn't working, and this is a way that we could also be doing it. And what happened to me on multiple occasions, both in the management position and in the Scrum Master position, was that I got into a position where people would sort of ask me the question, well, you say this isn't Agile, but we call it a daily stand-up, so it is. Because, we had a meeting, it was every day, it lasted half an hour, and it was called the daily stand-up, so we must be doing Scrum. We had a meeting, it was called the refinement, it was held twice a week, so that's refinement, so we must be doing Scrum. We had another meeting which was called PI planning, and it lasted 3 days every 2 months, and there was PI planning, so it must be safe. And that's actually been a returning pattern that I've seen in many organizations, where the organizations have adopted Scrum or Agility and or any other Agile framework for that matter, and they have implemented the meetings that are required by these methodologies. They follow these meetings that are required by these methodologies, but they don't see the underlying purpose of the meeting. And I've been trying to teach people the underlying purpose of the meeting by telling them what the meeting should be doing, what we should be trying to achieving, helping them, facilitating them, and it has resounded back to me that it is very difficult for the people in those meetings to see why what they are doing is not what they should be doing. So with this new role that I've had, which is very similar to me to being the lead developer role that I had in one of my first teams, instead of telling people what to do, I let them experience it and I build it up together with them instead of trying to break an existing pattern. I start with the new team and I say, okay, let's level out. In my case, guys, for this new team, let's level out, guys, and we're going to deliver something of value. And we started by scratching everything and quickly working up and coming to the conclusion that we need most of these things, but the things that haven't come up yet, I leave out. And by doing that, I get a very pragmatic position within the team and a very, how do you say that, intuitive buildup of the use of certain meetings. So one of the rules that we have in the current team is if you don't see the use of a meeting, you don't go there. And that not only holds for the meetings that people are asking us towards, it also holds for the meetings that we are doing. And it turns out that that actually causes the change that I wanted to cause by telling people how to do things the right way and by trying to facilitate them. With that being said, that is, to me, both a very nice, a very productive position, and it has been the highest impact that I've had. It has just been on not the biggest group. I've done a managing impact on a much bigger group, which had much less progression, but on a much greater amount of people. Depending on what you want, you might want to do a managing type of position. For me personally, it has seemed much more satisfying to grow the impact than on a smaller group, to get the group to be very highly productive. And now we start teaching other entities within the organization how what we are doing, it can be replicated. And that is actually, I think, the start of getting the bigger impact. It also follows a model that I'm really keen of, which is first try to be great at a thing that you want to achieve in the world on a small scale. Make sure that the group that you're doing it with is very up to date and gets the very good result. And then try to see if you can touch on the outer lying communities to see if you can help them further as well. And I think that is, to me, the much greater impact of all the different roles that I've played. Is that a good answer to your question?
Yes, it was the right one.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Anybody else? Feel free to raise your hand or unmute and just ask a question.
So another question from my side, Frank, right?
Yeah.
When you have failures, definitely you do the retrospective and all these things which you did it from your past till the moment you landed up to into that thing, right? But how did you enjoy this part, right? Just wanted to understand from you and your team perspective from this particular role, right?
Sorry, I I
So,
missed a little
so
bit of that.
yeah, basically we for every sprint we do the retrospective meeting, right, to understand where
Yeah.
we lack, right? Since
Yeah.
you keep on improving those things, how did you share that joy with your team, right? This is just wanted to understand, right?
Right. So the current team that I'm working with and the most successful team that I have ever worked with, they take the retrospective less serious than most people and most organizations that I've worked in and most teams that I've worked in. Instead, what they do is they make improvement a team-wide continuous how do you say this, point of attention. That is to say, if we identify that something needs to be better, we mostly do it immediately, and sometimes we postpone it to the end of a two-week sprint. And that's usually when there is a large discussion to be had about something. And so the retrospective then is not so much about what a standard retrospective would be about, as that the retrospective, the end of the 2-week session, is mostly about, well, what if we see a thing that can likely be better than it is, but we don't have consensus yet on how to do it, right? So it's a very vibrant discussion instead of it being an evaluation. If we have an evaluation point that we can likely fix right here, right now, we fix it right here, right now. And only the topics with a little bit more conflict or gravitas, for that matter, they actually get ported into the well, you could call it a retrospective, we call it a discussion, and we have a firm and sturdy discussion there, and that is actually based on the foundational concept of the team, that we believe that it is fine to attack somebody's ideas, it is fine to attack somebody's work, yet you can never ever attack somebody's integrity or personal aspects, right? So I would be fine in my team to say, Vikram, your idea is absolutely bonkers, we need to do something very different. And you can say, well, Frank, that piece of work that you delivered right there, that's really bad, it needs to be better. And what we do is we distance ourselves from the work and the idea in this discussion, and we try to think around the idea and not see it particularly as that is Frank or that is Frank's idea. We try to revolve around the idea that Frank has put into the open space, and we can attack it from all different angles. And it just so happens that the ideas that get attacked from all different angles and survive, we consider those to be the best ideas, right? So I might bring in the idea, and then you could say, well, that was Frank's idea, and we kind of don't care anymore. As soon as I bring in the idea, everybody gets to attack it. And if the idea gets smashed by the attacks, I might feel bad, but at least we know that we didn't go with a stupid idea. And somebody else might bring in a completely different idea, and then we circle around it, we attack it from all different angles. And if the idea doesn't break, it's probably a really good idea. And then we do it. And the retrospective for us is such a session. It's a session to talk and think about the things that we might have a little bit more gravitas, or the things that we have conflict about. And when I have a conflict with you, for instance, we bring in two ideas and we try to demolish them both at the same time. The one that crumbles the hardest is probably the weaker idea.
Yep, that makes sense, right? Thank you. And any other questions from the team? And for Frank, we have just 10 minutes more to go.
Yeah.
We are in the question session mode only. All right.
I hope that what I'm
audience,
saying makes a lot of sense and that everybody is very happy with the description that I'm giving. I would like to ask, is there any of you who wants to be doing anything like this and has a pragmatic question of how to do it?
Yes, Frank, because you have gone through that stage or you have experienced that thing. That is something coming out, right? And the way the bookish knowledge won't give you that kind of experience, right?
Yeah,
This
and
is what I'm
I would
saying.
love to share.
Yeah.
Ooh,
So
I see
that
Sharmila
is
is coming
equal.
back.
Sure.
Hi, Sharmila.
Hey, hi, hi.
I see you
All
take
right.
a couple of people with, or there's
Right.
people who were already here.
Yeah, no, the couple of folks have joined in. So, guys, right, Frank was sharing his own experience, saying, right, how he has helped his team, right, delivering something valuable out of the box, right? So, we were discussing about that thing. So, if you guys have any experience so far, and if you have any questions, please do that. We are in a question round session only at the moment.
It's very quiet, so I'm assuming I was very
Yeah.
clear.
Right. Yeah. So, Frank, just wanted to understand, right? How much is the duration does it took, right, you to just understand the pain area of the team and then propose some solutions from your end, your team, and how you gather that thing and start prioritizing that part, right? Because that is really important. And when you run a pilot, you will be able to see whether this will be impactful or it is not, right? Something like this. I want to understand from your perspective because you did did hands dirty on that part, right, where you actually jump with your team, understand the problem, drive something out of the box, and that create some wonders, right? That is, I just
Yes.
want to hear from.
Yeah. So for me, the big thing, the big event that has in both cases caused me to progress much faster than in all the other cases that I've had was that in both cases I was hired as a senior consultant with the actual knowledge and skills to get stuff done, and I have taken on the responsibility within the group that we're going to be doing this and that we're going to be finishing. And I say, we all together take the responsibility that we're going to be doing this, but I will take the political responsibility of sharing that with the outside world so that they don't bug us as much. And once we've taken that step, I usually get a certain amount of credit from the team. And in both of the very successful cases, I've used the credit that the team has given me in that particular circumstance to say, we're going to break with literally everything that we've been doing. And now nothing holds until we find a working form. And that is where the driving Scrum and agility without actually using the terminology surrounding it has come in very handy, because when you say we break with everything, you want to then build it up without starting the assumption of, okay, it's going to be Scrum, or okay, it's going to be this, or okay, it's going to be that. Instead, you want to have a value-oriented discussion, right? So in our current case, it is delivering web services, and I know as an experienced programmer that delivering a web service should be a thing that should be doable in a day or two. So I set a golden standard together with a very prominent figure within the team that, yes, we believe that we should be able to do it in about 2 days, but it is currently costing us 6 weeks. Right? Okay, cool. So how are we going to get there? And then we find that by starting the team off with a clean break from everything that you've been doing, and then moving forward with a value-oriented discussion, you very quickly converge into something that is very much like SAFe or like Scrum or like whatever you want, because there are a lot of factors in there that actually add a lot of value towards the delivery. And so by setting ourselves the goal of delivering in 2 days, and by breaking with all of the previous rules, we can then focus on, so what are then the right rules to actually achieve that goal? And that has actually helped us so much that within about 2 weeks' time, you go from 6 weeks to about 1 week. And
Okay.
that is stupefying, because if you think about all of the things that actually hinder us, I asked my team, so what are the things that hinder us the most? And it was, well, we get asked into too many meetings. And then I said, well, we've broken with everything. We'll just go to none of them.
Okay, all right. And any particular framework which you have used for this thing, or you have your own hybrid version of it, right?
No, I do not have a hybrid version, because I'm very much a Scrum purist. I personally love Scrum. I'm always open to something else, but what I know best is what drives Scrum towards high productivity. And so what I try to do when I go this much more open format is I try to go into how do we get from an open perspective where everything is possible to a very highly productive situation. And the most complete framework I know to do that happens to be Scrum. And I know how all the different entities within Scrum align together.
Yeah.
So then we build up from nothing into a situation where we do the things that Scrum says you should be doing. And then only later, after we have been becoming very good at that, I will say, well, and this is now called the daily stand-up. Oh, and now this is called the retrospective. As I said with you right now, the situation is the thing that we're doing is we're doing an end of sprint talk. It's a discussion. And after this discussion has happened a couple of times and we've become very good at having this discussion, I will introduce to my team, let's call this discussion a special name. And they'll say, oh yeah, sure, whatever. And I'll say, let's call it the retrospective. And boom, then you have a retrospective. Right? So that's
nice
the way that we build it up.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
Yeah. That's really good. Actually, you're not forcing people or your team to start using the Scrum in the initial go. To bring them back to that thing and connecting the dots back again, right? That is really good thing, right? I really like it. Thank you so very much, Frank.
Yeah.
So, right, we have a couple of folks back here. Hey, hi, Dipti. Hi, Ram. Guys.
Hi, all.
So, yeah, any other questions, right, before I pass it down the podium to Dipti and
Seems quiet, but I hope that people enjoyed it.
Just a comment, I suppose, and what it reminds me of is, if you've watched Karate Kid, when
wax on, wax off.
wax on, wax off. He's not saying you're doing the thing, he's just explaining, and then eventually he says, no, this is why. And it's that Chuhari notion. It's the Chuhari notion of what you do to build up agility.
Yes.
So it was a great
that's a really
example.
great.
Thank you.
Yeah, happy to help.
And the best part here is you worked as a leadership, right? You didn't work as a manager, right? You drive the people along with you. That is the best thing which I can share. Yeah. Sorry,
it's really
somebody
nice.
was saying.
It's fun.
Yeah. Go ahead, please.
So I was saying that, now we have 10 minutes to time box. And so let's hear from, 5 of our experts. How did they feel? So I'll ask, what was the feel? What was the burning issue that people were experiencing on the particular role, for which you were guiding? So I'll again start with the Ram. Ram, what was your take again? And I'll request, say 1 to 2 minutes summary from all of our leaders. Yeah.
Okay. I think all of you have heard of Clubhouse, right? Like that is the latest social networking phenomena, which is taking the world by storm. So, I signed up on Clubhouse some 2 weeks back, and last week I was on stage on a product management discussion, deeply very similar to this AMA. It was a group of about 20, 25 odd product managers across Asia Pacific, including Australia and Singapore and China and Hong Kong and all of that. And what I found is when we have a stage where, everyone is talking, right? Like in Clubhouses like that, right? It's like Twitter with voice. You actually uncover insights which you never thought was possible before the session started, right? And that is the power of, when you bring different ideas, different backgrounds, different people together, what happens is you just create magic. And the only regret, as I told you, Deepti, was that I could not attend sessions from Frank and Sharmila and Abhi and Sunil, right? I know that is the only regret I have, but this is absolutely fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you, Ram. How do you feel about it, Frank? What was your observation?
My observation was that my audience was very quiet. So either I was super clear or I was really confusing. And I really hope it was the first.
I've been in your
Actually,
session.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
loved
because of
everything. Yeah, sorry,
yeah.
Vikram.
No, sorry, go ahead, please, Dipti.
No,
Actually, Frank, you shared your own journey, and you won't get this thing kind of experience, as I said, like in a book, right? Or somebody would be that. If you have gone through the journey, then only you have this kind of rich experience which you share with the audience, right? And then that brings the value, right? Over to you, Dipti. Sorry.
no, that was it. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I was just telling I had been into his session earlier also. That's why I was like, Frank should be here. So no, Frank, I think it's the other one. Very, very clear. Okay. So over to you, Sharmila. What do you want to share? What is your takeaway, from the audience you had?
I did. In fact, I didn't expect even one person for the people managers, because in my opinion, people managers don't attend agile conferences. That's the first take. So, but I was glad to share a few of my maybe pragmatic tips that I have been through myself as a journey as a people manager as well. But I think I want to congratulate people who have joined as people managers. And into the agility conference too. I think that is the first step towards the agility itself. That shows that you committed to be agile. And second thing is, maybe I met few friends who would probably stay connected on LinkedIn as to how did my advice in fact even help them or not in the first place. And maybe interesting also that what worked for them. That is more interesting for me as well. So if not this, what is it that worked for them? So maybe I think it will be to establish that kind of connection for me as well. So very, very interesting.
Thank you. Thank you. Now then I want to ask Abby, what was her, takeaway from the conversation she had? Abby, you there? You are on mute in case you are speaking. I think she's not in front of system, and that's what happens, when you are on a Zoom call. And I don't see Sunil here. I think the group which was with Sunil has not come back yet to the hall one, isn't it?
No, we are back actually.
Okay, so probably Sunil didn't know that he has to come back, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I told him that we need to come here to conclude the session. So he
Okay.
must be in the gathering lounge. We can ask him. Let
Okay.
me jump out and.
No worries. So I think that's totally cool. That was the intention of this Rolls Cafe. I'm happy that our experts we invited, they could take time out and join us. And group, in case you have any further questions, you can go to the lobby. Vikram, is there anything? Oh, Vikram wants us to do the poll. So please provide your valuable input to the poll.
Yeah. And truly, I really enjoyed being a facilitator also this session very much. I didn't get experience to go in Ram, Sharmila's and Abby session, but we'll look forward to do that. But thank you once again, all the speakers for being here, right? I'm sure you have shared your experience journey with everyone and they will be taking a right fruitful information out of it. Thank you so very much. And we would request if you can just spare some time in the network launch and the consulting corner with, and so the people have any further questions, they can feel free to ask with you folks.
Yeah.
With that note, thank you so very much once again joining over the weekend in the conference. It is our pleasure to serve you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ram. Thanks, Frank.
Thank
you,
you so
Abby.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Sharmila.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
So Vikram, do we have next session at 12:30, 3 minutes from now?
That's right.
Okay. I'm here.
So we actually have at 1:35, actually, we have 7 minutes with us, right, Viti?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we bang on time, right?
Yeah. So Frank, throughout, I'm sure you must be super clear. I do not think that was option 2. I've been
I
in
hope so.
Frank's session, and my God, I loved the clarity he brought in around each question. And so even the questionnaire was not clear, but Frank will be like, okay, fine, let's break it down into 3 parts. And then, let's take it from there. And so, wow, that was amazing. Yeah.
So Deepti, I think I will have some time to spare. As I said,
Sure.
I can't really know in advance how much.
I know. Yes.
So how can I best do that?
So
how can I best help?
Yeah. So you reach to the lobby, Frank. Do you know how to reach to the lobby?
Yeah, that's the day 1 link you sent, right?
Yes. So on the day 1 link, you press the button from Gathering Lounge. You click and you will reach there. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
Have a great one. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Called in.